Welcome to this podcast on Radio Conscience. Truth is here. Tonight, an ongoing series with a fifth interview with Dr. Mike Castle on natural magnetic energy. Today is Tuesday, April 17, 2012, and we're delighted to have you again, Dr. Mike. Can you hear me?
I certainly can. Thank you, Jean-Francois.
So how have you been? How are you doing?
Oh, I have to say I'm doing better.
Yeah, that's
better.
good. That's good news. Good news. So we're going to expand on the subject of natural magnetic energy tonight. So I'm not quite sure where you wanted to steer the conversation tonight, but I guess I'll leave you the floor.
Well, of course, I just like to always keep saying the same thing.
Yes.
A very good friend of mine a long time ago, back in the 70s, he in fact said, you always want to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He said that way people can develop confidence in you because you never change your story. And that's just the way I've been for 13 years on broadcast radio. I've always said the same thing. I've not darted or took an assumption or took somebody else's finding. I've just stayed on the same path. And all this about the chemtrails is so much larger than anybody could possibly imagine. Let me plant something. I hope it doesn't grow. But think of the name Starlink 810 corn. Think of the name Starlink 810 corn. That's Monsanto's beauty. That's the Roundup Ready.
Okay. It would give the same result, I guess.
The same result, yeah. But the psychotronic weapon, it is absolute mind control. At least that's what they had designated this as to themselves. Absolute mind control. We know that there's an artificial intelligence involved with such an in situ fiber such as the Morgellons fiber that seems to harbor quite a few beings right now, humans, but not just humans, all
Humans.
all life forms. All life forms are afflicted by this invasive species of pseudo life form. The only word I can use to explain them is nitnoids. That's an old Air Force word, nitnoids. That's just what these are. They're electromagnetic nitnoids. And they, in fact, respond to artificial intelligence commands. But it's progressive. It grows, and it grows.
And it replicates.
And it replicates. All, in fact, moving themselves into you know what an array is, which is exactly what David Icke said, a crystalline, microcrystalline array. Just think about that a moment. You know, if that was to harbor itself in the one area that we think is sacred, no, this stuff passes through the blood-brain barrier just as a very fine chemical ion would do, or a drug. It passes right through the blood-brain barrier, and it's able to apparently manifest itself in some type of growth. And we already know that actinic light, thanks to Dr. Carnicom, Clifford Carnicom, he showed us that that this responds to frequencies, and actinic light in that nanometer range, in fact, just happens to be the same type of frequency that can be literally flooded in your face at your brain. That's called the hippocampus region. Now, I'm just doing this for a reason, because all these things that we're talking about coming through the TV and the cell phone, those are mesmeric waves. Listen to me, people. This is mesmeric waves, and these mesmeric waves, they hypnotize you. And they can hypnotize you, and you don't even know you've been hypnotized. Like I said, well, if their intent is to kill us, well, how come they hypnotize us first? I guess they've got just a weird sense of humor, huh? But it's just like this. You are more susceptible to this mesmeric wave the more you eat things like GMO and take in various types of adulterated materials such as glutamic acid adducts or aspartame or any of those poisons which are class 1 poisons, or even fluoride, because it all accents this particular waveform. I can't see, it actually seems to modulate this mesmeric waveform. And why do you think people are acting so weird right now? Well, that's okay. Just hold on. We'll take care of that. They got a pill for you, and it's coming somewhere from the opiate sections of this thing called sorcery. Oh, I'm sorry, pharmacia. Actually, those are the same thing. So when it comes to how in the world can we possibly live if we're all unabridgedly being exposed to this 24/7, literally, the only thing I can suggest is that you find out more about what I'm discussing as natural magnetic energy. And ladies and gentlemen, that's in the realm of what's called simply natural magnetism. Now, go do your own study. Tell me where natural magnetism has harbored itself into any of the limelight in this world. And it is the most primitive, primal energy on this earth. But it's always occluded and attached by a specific species to the word electronic or electromagnetic magnetic. You mean electromagnetic? No, I mean there's no such thing as an natural magnetic on the face of this earth. Electromagnetism only exists as a residue off of coming from solar flares. That's one way. It shoots out this particles and stuff from the ejecta. And yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you can get electromagnetic waveform there, but it's what they do to grid the entire Earth with an electromagnetic field, if you will. Hey, that way they can keep track of their satellites who are watching you. See,
but I just want to ask a question here. There's been a lot of talk about transhumanism recently, and I'm wondering if part of the agenda you're discussing is related to that subject.
I just described to you the process by which it forms.
Mm-hmm. And
how is the transection carried out? It's either trans or cis. A transition to what? Number one, I never signed up for that program, nor will I. They opt out on this. This is given to everyone. Well, you recall Clifford Carnicom alleging, if you will, that these blood-borne nodules found in everything of blood that he came across, except the controls. And he was meticulous about his work. The man should win. Give me the highest award. There's not one yet, because they've all been corrupted. But give that man a dignified, distinguished award for the work that he's done, and we kind of pick it up and say, well, stuff, because this is the technology, and we're in their matrix, folks. We're in their matrix. So transhumanism is a byproduct almost, but it's a product. See, the first product is your complete hypnosis. That is in fact the same as a trance, almost a psychotic trance. And then all the time, your goal as this almost an autotron is to achieve where you can just say, I understand the only word is obey. You become one of the obeys.
If I could here, I've come to understand that the transhumanist agenda results from a delusion and a fear of death on the part of the predators that are undertaking these actions.
Of course. Of course. They fear the truth so much. They don't have a soul. I don't think they had a soul. But at the same time, the soul was replaced by almost like an agreement. Can't tell you what that date was, but it was somewhere around the time of the Druid priest.
Mm-hmm.
And that wicked bunch of occult Satanists. Something happened then. Seemed like they were like, I'm just guessing, a big old deal. And the devil was involved. And I think the deal went something like this. I'll just give you all the old demonic spirits that you need, and you people go in there and play hell on them humans. I think that's what the deal was made. That's just my opinion, you understand.
Mm-hmm.
But let me get back to the topic of natural magnetism. There is a way out. You can, in fact, form a domain under an electromagnetic grid with these magnetic vortices. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Makes a lot of sense.
It's a elliptically orbiting magnetic vortex or vortices that are essentially radiating from these apertures. And the aperture is very simple. You have magnetite on or loads at the bottom, you have a crystal on top of it, and you have a copper coil that is right turn ascending clockwise. And that's in a little bit of zinc. The magnetite, you pour some water if you want to, throw a couple copper pennies in it, or put a copper tube on the top of it. That is a most adequate aperture. I call them apertures because I'm wanting you to focus something. I don't care about your accumulation of it. This generates its own auroric magnetic field. And it's, in fact, accelerated and spun to the right as it goes through the crystal. That generates this non-illuminated, almost non-detectable, but it is detectable. I've detected it many a times. Vortex, and it's huge. It defies description of. It looks like when you have something real small and like you have a rodent and an elephant. I mean, it kind of like it's that big. Should give you a visual on that. I mean, that's just what I vision. That in fact hits me, and I've tested everything you can test and try to find it. And yes, it's there. And I just encourage you to do nothing more than go test it yourself. And then once they find it's there, then start working with it. I don't know everything about this. It's just that I came across a piece of information that allowed me to think the thought, well, wait a minute. If I take this crystal and put copper wire on it and then put it into a ceramic matrix made from magnetite, the black sands magnetite, and that ceramic bond, it's a light ceramic bond because you don't want to heat this up too much, but you can make a ceramic material out of it. It's full of iron. But at the same time, this material, in fact, will radiate this auric magnetic energy into the crystal forever. And forever it will spin and accelerate through the crystal. And I happen to have two crystals. I find it works most judiciously in just about anything I'm trying to tackle, including when my leg hurts or something, I'll tape a pendant or a disruptor on upside down on it. And overnight, I just heard another story today about same thing, hand hurt, and they held that pendant in their hand all night long. Next morning they got up. Well, she said she slept for 4 hours, and she got up and she noticed immediately her hand didn't hurt. Hey! But see, I know all these things too. I don't know all the parameters because there are no limits. I've even found out that you can take this same energy and just use it. This is something you can use because there is no packaging. There's nothing. But you can use this just by thinking about it. And that's what I do claim that you can do with natural magnetic energy. You can't do that with electromagnetic energy, but you can with natural magnetic, and you're working at a magnitude of power that is at least 10 times stronger than it was, than it is now. At least 10 times stronger. I've done some studies on that of the work that they've done, and they always fall short of giving me good information for baseline or who done this work and how did they test it. There's none of that stuff there. So I kind of frown on the field of paleontology anyways. But in this case here, this was before the dinosaurs. And these little rock-eating bacterium, which I believe existed symbiotically with a certain algae form. An algae form that was able to selectively pull certain minerals out of the rock, and they would form a diamagnetic particles. They would selectively pull out diamagnetic minerals and metals. And in fact, this entire matrix becomes almost paramagnetic anyways. and it's just an iron crystallite. I'm talking about when the bacterium made this. They would excrete this pellet, which, by the way, has a pyramidal shape form to it. It's a pyramid, just a pyramid, and you look at a handful of it, and it's kind of intriguing. There's not sharp points on it or anything, but just look at it. Black sands magnetite, and throw a handful out on the driveway and let it rain on it, it won't rust. Wait a minute. It's Fe3O4, but it won't rust. Wow. Bet you this would be a good science project. Well, anyways, I took it from there and found out that look at the surface area of all them little magnets and everything in our dimension. Everything is how much surface area can you cover with whatever you're doing. Look at the surface area and all the radiance, magnetic energy coming on that.
I just thought of something. I was thinking about a cloaking device with magnetite, and I was wondering if radar could pick up a trace signature of an object that's covered with magnetite.
I'll take the first one. I'm get my order in. I want the first one.
No, just
whether it does or doesn't.
Just a thought.
No, that's a great thought. Look at the energies you're talking about. See, what happens when a natural magnetic vortex, a spinning magnetic field, put it that way, you can understand it better. Mm-hmm. A spinning right vortexian field, and it's invisible, but it's an energy without a mass. But encounters a microwave or any spatial wave energy, including the acoustical region at the low frequency band, extreme low frequency band, it bumps it. And when it bumps it, it more or less deflects the microwave, just like carbon is supposed to absorb all microwave energy. I don't think it absorbs it because it doesn't dissipate itself into any other type of endotropic energies or heat or anything like that. All right, so if that's the case, then really all it's doing is deflecting the wave, so you get no bounce back. And this is what they put on sophisticated aircraft wings. Being a pilot, I watched all this stuff for years, but there's a carbonized coating that is put on the wing. It looks like somebody set the wing on fire and said, hey, look at that. Bet you invisible radar with that. Well, it is. But it's a very sophisticated coating, complex coating. Of course, reptilians just love to make stuff tough. They think that, you can't get it anywhere but just our own in military industrial complex. That's all, And we only charge like billions of dollars for this stuff, but it doesn't make any difference. Back to the magnetite. That auric energy coming out of the crystal, that magnetic vortex, it would bump the electromagnetic spectrum. And that's how it deflects this mesmeric wave with these disruptors. It's something that I've done a lot of study on without getting into studying to be an electronics. That I have no interest in that field whatsoever. But in this case here, I found out that this disruptor will, in fact, put out this magnetic vortex, and it hits the screen. It goes right at the screen. Well, this screen is oozing this psychotronic wave right at me and everybody else, and it's aimed right for my hippocampus region. But this is actually bumping that electromagnetic wave ever so slightly, and all the wave behind it will follow where that goes. That's called deadbedding, electronic deadbedding, and I'm just bumping it. And I'm not even saying, excuse me, but see, that's how you, in fact, dissipate this wave, this mesmeric wave hitting you in the face. The hippocampus region is what they're aiming for, because believe me, the people that have Morgellons, many have told me of the excruciating problems they've had with their sinus ears. I don't think we need any more visuals on that. Yeah, I don't think we need any more visuals on that one. But anyways, See, it's just trying to teach a little bit about, I've read through the patents, the Lowry patents, so what was it, the 60s and 70s? Yeah, the Lowry patents, in fact, clearly describe how they use this psychotronic weapon. But it's the same thing. It's embedment of what they call, they will cast from towers. Yeah, that's the same one we're talking about. Those three right there on that hill right behind you, you know, they told you that was cell phone, and you can walk up underneath them. Your cell phone won't work. Those are not cell towers. Look at them. If they got a triangular top, I'll guarantee you they're not cell towers. They got a triangular at the top, and then they got these like spools on them or something. Okay, much of that is in fact Tesla, once removed, technology. He developed many of the components. I think he was forced to. And I heard the same collective of stories about Wilhelm Reich. Okay, whatever they're doing there, whatever they're doing, let's put it that way, leave it open. When that waveform comes through, they call it affirmations. They're just blasting an affirmation at you, like pizza Friday night. Remember pizza Friday night. They've done that for years and years and years. Why do you think everybody goes and gets pizza on Friday nights? It's like, oh, gee, boy, I think I like everything else, you know. Yeah, football, Friday night, and pizza. And you people only weighed like 400 pounds anyways. That's what you need is more pizza. But see, they don't care because they got doctors that's going to, in fact, give you diabetic drugs and psychotronic drugs, psychotropic drugs, and the whole 9 yards. You're all set, folks. All you got to do is obey. Don't fight it. You crave it. They can make this program. You can crave stuff. You can crave hot dogs because of this psychotronic technology. And is it legal? Oh, well, if I said no, then who are you going to call?
Yeah,
just tell me. Who are you going to call? So I just kind of rest my case on this whole thing, but I'm just trying to suggest and advise, because I'm a consultant, that you do something to look into this, let's just call it a tool for the moment. But it's a completely natural tool. All you've done is put it together. All the tribals and the ancient Indian tribes, what did they do? They just put it together. They would put stack rocks, and they kept, like the mounds, the Hopewell Indians and the mounds, and they kept finding these clusters of stacked rocks. And of course, they thought they were going to find gold mask and all that kind of. These were Indians, okay, but they were. Nobody was intrigued with that. I was when I started reading about it, and I figured this part of it out, John Francois. That they would find these stack rocks, always the lodestone, which is a rock that naturally occurs in Ringing Rocks, Pennsylvania. Ringing Rocks National Park, I think it is, or maybe it's a state park. I'm sorry, I don't recall. But be it as it may, that was also within their territorial bridge. I mean, they didn't have territories back then. They had nothing but forests. They were just state after state after state, as we know it today, just covered with forest. Just for one moment, imagine that. But that was this world way back then. But they would carry rocks, and they would go through Zanesville, Ohio, which is now Zanesville. Southeast of Zanesville is the Great Flint Ridge. And they would, in fact, pick these rocks up, which, in fact, was blue flintstone. So there's a perfect crystalline deposit of materials, and they'd always find the flint on top of the lodestone. And then I found my point of research. Okay, I got the magnetite lodestone. I got the Fe3O4. I've got that, and I've got this thing here, this crystalline material, which is in fact a flintstone type product material. Then I find that in the Serpent Mound they've kept finding copper beads. Wait a minute. Are we talking about like ancient Indians here? The mound, how did they get,
Copper
where did they
beads.
get copper? I got a question here. I don't know. But they would find copper beads, and there's pictures of this as well on the archaeological finds of Serpent Mound. So they found copper beads. Well, would it be too much of a stretch to, in fact, to say that they possibly coiled these beads on those rocks they just stacked on top of each other? And if so, that's the same thing I've just described to you as what I put together as an aperture. It's the same exact thing. So what was this for? You know, we have medicine men and rain dancers, and outside that, we don't know anything about Indian cultures or tribals or nothing. We're just dumb people because we never paid attention to what their cultures were of, and there was so much rich value there because they knew how to grow good food. They knew how to live. They didn't need Western civilization and McDonald's and Wendy's and Western packaging and landfills. No. They lived with now there was just not as many as we have today, but the point being is all that was lost, including the reason why they stack rocks and put copper on top of it. Well, these rain dancers, I've read a lot about these particular individuals. Not a lot is written because they had a very special, unique task that they would do. They would, in fact, go through training all their life. This is all they would do. It's not like, well, this year you got rain dancer duty, you know. No, they didn't have that. These people were trained on how to do things. Trained, indoctrinated, whatever. But it was just to do one thing. And what they would do was they would set up this beat with their feet. And the feet and the bone with moccasins on them, you would have a thud, a deep, extreme low frequency thud on the ground. That's the ELF. That's the extreme low frequency. In the low frequency range. Then they were taught how to make certain noise with their voice and vocal cords, like grunts or something. Again, the mid-range to the vocalization, and then they would always have their gourds with their seeds in it, and it would make that high frequency shh, 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 shh. See, they had everything. They had everything to go out there and call for blessed rain, to call for nourishing waters, for fishes to come back up in their lakes and streams and ponds. They didn't have ponds, but you know what I'm saying. But all the wildlife, the wild would come back. And they would have abundance and hunting. And their entire world, in fact, revolved elliptically in this lifestyle. But why? What were they doing? They would have all these wonderful things. You would say that they were blessed by God. I would say that you would be accurate and correct. But at the same time, there's something that we missed. We missed as far as knowledge. And this is only just one small particle of it. And I know of the species that has hidden it from us. It's the ones that had the electromagnetic. And when they invented electromagnetic, it was the death knell of that day, which we know is magnetism. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Well, they gave up.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
But not to lose that thought, you see, the rain dancers knew how to call abundance. They would use these things as part of their, the latter day came the shamans. And the shamans are not just with the Indians, they're with the Aboriginals and with all the tribes and all the foreign, they have shaman everywhere. South America. I mean, these were the ones that carried just a little piece of that old wisdom and knowledge that has been lost. And that's why they persecuted and got rid of so many of the Native American Indians. That is exactly why. And one of them was, which I feel somewhat of a personal lineage to, and that's to the Chief Tecumseh of the Shawnee.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have Shawnee in my lineage. But see, what a brilliant man he was, Tecumseh, as well. He was brilliant. I mean, he crafted and invented the Tecumseh tomahawk peace pipe. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
A tomahawk peace pipe? And you look at that real close, and you look at the iron head on that. And that was before a lot of things were known about how iron is made and casting iron and so on and so forth. And this was a long time ago, early to mid 1860 or 1800s. So if you're looking at that particular example, look at that peace pipe tomahawk. You'll see that in the handle are embedded, and you'll see that the head, in fact, is made of something that looks exactly like the graininess of lodestone, and that's what I believe. That's what I think that head was made out of, is some type of
Lodestone.
lodestone. So you have a crystal and lodestone, and still it's there. I can't change that, but I'm only one of those kind of people that notice stuff like that. So I think he was using the same type of energy form, and I've not found one latter-day Shawnee that had ever been able to talk to me about any of this stuff, because I don't think any of them exist anymore. There's no knowledge. It all died. It's all gone. Either died or killed. But see, this is just something that needs to be shared across the world. I know that individuals like Dr. Angie Miranda over in the Philippines, she put an aperture up, and she had earthquakes all around her, not within 50 miles. But they were all around her in Manila, outskirts of Manila. So well, was that a coincidence? No, folks. Coincidence is a trick word. They invented it. The reptilians invented coincidence. That's part of their linguistics. That's like the word apologize. Huh? Wasn't that some old moon god or something? You can cut somebody's heart out and give it to him and then turn around and apologize to his wife? No, that didn't happen. But see, that's part of linguistics. It gives us passes to do anything we want to do, or them. So take it out of the spectrum. See, there's linguistics embedded in this stuff, and there's all these things that just confuse the crap out of all of us. But it's very simple. Nature, the most primal energy on the face of this earth, is natural magnetic energy. And it's abundant in black sands magnetite. And Dr. Malusky is the only one that I know that still is a practitioner in harvesting that and making it available. It's just the most astounding area I've ever ventured into. I've done a lot of stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I've done a lot of stuff. I mean, if it's chemical in basis or chemical adhesive, paints, coatings, rubber, I don't care what it is. I probably messed with that at one time, and I'm still doing it. But I take all this collection of knowledge and try to saddle myself into some type of position of what I should feel about this. And I am absolutely amazed every single day of what natural magnetic energy can do. There's one thing that I'm the highest I can possibly be on, and that is the use of the word reversing. Now, you can get your butt thrown in jail if you go out there and say something will heal or cure. This doesn't have anything to do with that. This is reversing, and you don't need a license to reverse anything.
That's right. I mean, the legalese, or the legalese, as they call it, they use it to their advantage all the time. But if you use the word reverse, I mean, it's like that's not part of their language or their legalese.
It's not part of their linguistics. Ha, ha, ha.
That's a good point. That's a
So,
very
but
good
I know that this methodology, technology, ladies and gentlemen, is your worst enemy. As a matter of fact, technology and psychotronics occur in the same book, written by a evil, dark-minded demon, the name of Zbigniew Brzezinski. Out of this mind came the filth and horror of 30-some million Pol Pot. The Pol Pot regime murdered these souls in Cambodia. 30-some million humans slaughtered. Didn't make a difference. That's what came out of this mine. That's why I would never talk about William Teller. I mean, the hydrogen bomb came out of your mind, and I'm going to, in fact, even acknowledge that you exist. It's the same thing with Zbigniew Brzezinski. The man is one of the grandest demons on the face of this earth. And you can mark my word.
It's like that, what's his name, Dr. He was really involved with Bush, and what's his name again? Dr. something, I forget. I got a blank here. But
Dr. Strangelove and Goldfinger?
no. Anyways, a lot of people in the high circles of quote unquote power, because to me power is only an illusion, but they think they have power because they can dictate and policies and executive orders and this and that. But I've come to realize that it's only words.
It's only words.
It's only words, and if I don't consent to any of that bullshit, sorry for the term, if I don't consent, I mean, I don't consent. That's it, and it doesn't bother me. But I know it bothers a lot of people, and a lot of people are getting fed up with that insane system, that insane attack on the mind of the population. It's got to stop. And
yes,
there's not many ways to stop these.
Yeah, I don't know anybody's even trying to bridge it, because they're still trying to recover from bended knees, thinking, oh man, I wish this wasn't really true. But it is, folks. That is the horror of the day. It is all in front of us, and no, it's not fear that we need, but we need to have faith. Quit going on a belief. Strike the word. It's part of the linguistics. Believe means that there's an option that you could possibly fail because of your belief in something. The only exception to the entire concept of believing is Jesus used the word, as it says in the Bible, whomsoever shall believeth in me. Now, if believeth and believe are the same word, I don't have time for that stuff. But I know what he was saying. I can have faith in it. If you can't have faith in something, then don't say it. Quit using the word believe or belief. Well, believe me. No, I don't trust you.
To me, when I made those claims, it's not faith. It's reality. It's right in our face. I mean,
it is.
It's incredibly insane, and those murderous predators, because that's what I call them now, they're totally insane, and they need to be stopped.
They do.
They need to be stopped.
I've been banging the drums and clanging the pans for a long time, hey, praise the Lord. There's millions out there that have emerged after my 12-year, just like Clifford Carnicom and Laurie Kramer and so many more good people, Kim Dolly, across this. But we started right there in Columbus, Ohio. We were having a first ever chemtrails protest. And we called it a rally. Then we done another one in front of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Gate 12B. Folks, that's the main entrance. Yeah, there's a videotape on Chemtrails Tracking USA, if it's still there. There's a video of Clifford Carnicom and Lori Kramer and myself. We're all giving we're espousing what we're saying. And as I said a long time ago, none of these people are exempt. I was appealing to the people in the National Atmospheric Testing Labs there at Wright-Patterson. And believe me, they even call it the Tesla Center. So there's nothing strange about this, but I appealed to them about what the toxicity is of these agents. And, of course, they were told that they're harmless. Yeah. Well, that also told them that they were on the did not need to know list, and that got their attention.
I remember seeing one of the early videos of Clifford Carnicom, and he was explaining at the time when he first published his findings on chemtrails on his website. He showed a graph of the people visiting his website. And on that list, you had Air Force bases, you had Monsanto, you had government agencies of all sorts, all the triple-letter agencies you could think of were there. It was like insane.
Well, it was because they detected a leak.
A leak, yeah, a big leak.
They detected something here, and they didn't like these thorns coming from this group there in Dayton, or wherever Clifford's from, in New Mexico.
Santa
we call
Fe.
it kind of collectively called ourselves Cactus.
Yeah.
Something. But
New Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah, New Mexico. Well, see, we're still doing the same thing. Clifford is out there doing with his institute what he's doing, and just keep on trucking there, buddy. I don't know how else to say it. And then the Morgellons Institute with Cliff Mickelson and Jan Smith, and all these are good people. You know, I mean, we all have our shortcomings, right? But see, we're not looking at our shortcomings. We're looking at how we're advancing our knowledge of this thing that we're calling Morgellons, and how we're advancing this and distinguishing it in what's called chemtrails, and how we're distinguishing what NOAA is going to project for our weather next week. And is it going to be more bowling with tornadoes through the Midwest again? Is that what you're doing, NOAA? Hey, you know, you and NASA can pin up anything you want, but I guarantee you this magnetic energy is going to kick your buns. And it has for a long time. It's just that you can't get any of your anti-grav systems over top of anywhere I'm at because of the magnetic vortex. You can't stand it. It's really screws your gravionics up. Big time. Big time. And we can form domains just by putting these in our house somewhere. Put them close to a tree. Just put them up. And it forms these huge magnetic vortices. And listen, I've discovered that live wood magnifies this energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that you can magnify this energy with a magnifying glass. It's just like sunlight. I found out that you can take a bucket of magnetite in a zinc pail and put a little bit of water on top of the magnetite in the zinc pail, throw a couple crystals and a couple pennies in it. Hey, voila, you got yourself an instant aperture. Go put that somewhere in your garden, but be sure and leave it in the sunlight for an hour. It captures energy. I don't know what it is, but you can put that in your garden, around your garden, and things will grow profusely overnight. I've never seen this before. But it unlocks something that Dr. John Maluski did describe very well on the differentiation between a dipole system and a magnipole system. This is all magnipole system. It's not a system. It is nature itself. But it allows there to be more photosynthesis. And it's not on a logarithmic either. It's complete. It grows everything, not just the vegetation. It grows the fruit or the vegetable or whatever, or the root, whatever it is. Trees love this energy. If you ever had any compassion for trees whatsoever, This is it. Put one of these apertures, or take a handful of magnetite and throw it around the trunk. It changes the complexity. It makes that tree even more resistant to bugs, and more resistant to electromagnetic wave. Believe me, we better be thinking about how we can do this, because all this other stuff is invisible and is not really important. But none of it is attenuating this daggone wave that just is in our face every time we turn around. I'm just suggesting that you put something either on you or around you that in fact can possibly bump this wave away from you. And it does.
You know
Or if
what?
you
What's
put one of these in the room.
What's cool about these apertures and these disruptors and all that, it's that they, the predators, can't do a damn thing about it.
Oh, are you going to arrest me for having magnetite? Oh,
Oh boy, but that's so cool. I mean,
yeah, you might be a terrorist. You know?
he's got magnetite.
Oh, see,
Lock him up.
Lock him up. See, that's the troglodyte species that is in all of TSA. It is in all of NOAA. These people look just like Russians and many times have the same kind of names. But they think like that too. They're almost autotronic. They don't care that they send a program over to Belgium until they get the new NSA complex in Idaho opened up. You see, they'll do it there. So see, this supercomputer, the Cray over there, in fact, auto-programs all the orders for all the chemicals coming to be sprayed upon the face of this earth that moment. All the contracts go out. All the money is paid. Everybody, in fact, and believe me, you got a 31-second high-speed tube in a vacuum tube that comes from China to guess where? Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Oh, it doesn't go around the earth. It goes through it. Yeah, it goes through it. Takes 31 minutes to get here from Beijing. Isn't that kind of blow your mind? Okay, that's their old reptilian stuff. I don't care. But you see, it's all done automatically. And is this week going to be another, well, okay, 3 days ago we had below freezing temperatures at night, 31 degrees. Mm-hmm. And then 2 days after that we had 80-some degrees in the afternoon.
Yeah, I remember.
Wait a minute.
It was nice.
Oh, yeah, this is really natural, folks. No, it's not. Earth doesn't have climatic seasonal changes that abruptly. It doesn't happen unless you're in Wisconsin somewhere where I've never seen it get so hot. I mean, it could melt the asphalt. It really, literally could. But at nighttime, it would get down to freezing, too. But most of that was solar heat in the summertime. But anyways, it's one of those things that is not natural, but just look out, folks. Now, I need to, in fact, I've mentioned bowling with tornadoes more than once, okay? If you have one of these apertures, put it in that part of the house, if you're in a place where you can't put it outside, put it in the part of the house that's the closest approach to a larger tree. Any tree, larger wouldn't be preferred because of a big root system. And see, this has all manifested itself into ground energy. What are you putting in magnetic vortex? You're not putting anything. But this natural magnetic vortex is, in fact, a minus-minus. That's my only grouping that I can, in fact, invent to designate ground energy. This is all ground energy, and that's why it plays havoc with anything electromagnetic, anything.
Anything that's plus and minus.
Yes.
It repulses it, or it deflects it.
It deflects it. It deflects it. In many cases, it neutralizes it. This magnetic vortex, in fact, goes out into a position of a right spin, huge right spin domain, and it goes out for 100 miles. We've tested this many times, and we've affected the weather on the other side of Richmond, Indiana, set right in my house in Columbus, Ohio. We deflected tornadoes, actually almost by willing. This is what my conversations were about, seeing the concept of radionics, actually willing a storm. You can do that. Would you need this? Well, get you some. Find some way of getting some. It's not that expensive. But just get some start, this whole area is open. And you guys out there that like to go and work in the garage on Saturday and fiddle fart around, you're the one I'm talking to. I'm talking to Mike Chambers kind of guy, you know? Bub Toskin, these are the kind of people that I just know that came from the background of messing with things. I don't know how that works. Okay, here's something here that you're not going to, in fact, put your entire system into, and I'm trying to avoid the word belief system, but so practice in being able to have this as the faith system. Faith means, the faith system is, you know the sun will come up tomorrow. That's a faith-based piece of knowledge, isn't it? You can have faith because you ain't doing nothing but thinking about it. That's all you're doing. That's how radionics works. But you're utilizing something of a natural magnetic vortice, which is somehow hooked to a totally different show discussion, interview. It's hooked to the ethers. What? What are you talking about? It's hooked to the ethers. That's how the etherics, in fact, work. I've even found out sage will pass through the etheric, whether it's a smoke or whether it's just the aroma of the oil of sage, because it will slightly sublime because of groupings of camphorated phenols. Camphorated phenols have this ability to naturally sublime, but they go through the ethers, and you can push them through with these magnetic vortices. You can push it through to where you have the smell of sage coming up in somebody's house all the way across the United States. If you know there is a tree around that house and you can think of the image of that tree, that's all you need to do. So start looking at trees. There's just so many fields to talk about here, Jean-Francois. It's not impossible to cover them in an hour, but it will take honorable mention, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's wonderful. There's so much ground we still haven't covered, and it's going to be important to continue this series of interviews, because people need to know that there are ways at their disposition to repulse all these attacks, all these electromagnetic waves that are being thrown at them. So, anyways, I have a grand respect for ultimately what the Bible tells me, and it says in Isaiah, it says that no weapons forged against me shall prosper. I claim that. I'm the one that doesn't make claims. I claim that. Okay.
That's fine. And everybody else can claim it, because these are all weapons. And they forged them against you. All you have to do is claim that. And you don't even need to say anything to do that. But it's what's in your heart. It's what's in your heart that's going to make this work for you. And it doesn't, there's no membership fee. Forget that reptilian stuff. This is not get it today, get it only $9.99. Oh, yeah, sound like a blowfly in a bottle screaming 800 numbers. God, I divorced myself from that matrix completely. I need to be in a world that I know what I need, and I don't need somebody to sell it to me. So you're not being sold to, but just take a look at this. I know you. It's called scalar wave. It's called so many other things. Not electromagnetic scalar wave. That's a weapon. That's an earthquake weapon. But this has so many dimensions. I just know you're going to get excited when you start filling in these blanks. But fill them in for yourself. And just don't sell it to somebody. This is not about the money. The reptilians have their thing about money. Screw the money. I don't care about money. As long as we, in fact, and our loved ones and our relationships, and they're not on pharmaceutical drugs, they're not being mass programmed by some psychotronic weapon on a daily basis, or heaven forbid, trying to get us to go get pizza on Friday night. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Hey, Have a good night, John Francois.
You too. Thank you so much for taking this hour with us and with me, and we gotta continue this series of interviews because it's very important. I don't know. There's no word for it. It's like we have to continue this.
Right.
So probably next week sometime.
Yes.
If you're available, I would love that.
Oh, I'll certainly make the time. Believe me, I
Okay.
like that about the pendants.
So in the meantime, take care.
Around this energy, and all of a sudden you do. Okay, take care. Good night. Blessings your way.
Yeah, blessings your way. Bye-bye.